what and where OpenRouteService actually started, I stumbled upon a pretty interesting thing. The first time OpenRouteService was ever presented was at the State of the Map 2008, a time actually when the State of the Map was still called the State of the Map. One little gimmick. And this was the talk from our now head of the company, Professor Dr. Alexander Zipf. He presented openrouteservice.org. It was definitely something else than it is today, but very interesting that the history of it is quite long already. Okay, what is OpenRouteService? I will briefly explain to you what this is, how you can access it, because I have seen that in the last couple of years, it has been criminally absent from the State of the Map, which makes me feel like a little introduction is important here. So OpenRouteService is a routing engine that is completely built on OpenStreetMap data. We are open source, so anything we do can be accessed and set up by everyone. It is becoming over the years, or it became over the years, more an ecosystem where we combined other open source tools in a smart way to really bring mobility analysis to everyone. Behind that is a team of, it depends on how you count it, but 7 to 12 people. And we are generally a nonprofit organization, and we work mainly for humanitarian causes, which also includes the OSM community. So OpenRouteService in its core is something like you can route from A to B, and you can do isochrones. This is not something incredible new. There are some routing engines that can do it, and this is basically the basic functionality. We have something more, like the metrics endpoint. This is a more advanced use case for people that want to calculate hundreds and thousands of coordinates towards each other and get, without the geometries, the times and distances in a very fast and efficient way. This is something that is, for example, the backbone for our vehicle routing problem solver, where you can do pickup and delivery, but this is not so much the focus of this talk today. All right, so I already said that OpenRouteService became an ecosystem over the time, and it grew massively in feature-wise and also in what we offer for the community. So I already showed you the directions, the reachability, and the metrics endpoints, but we have more, like the snapping endpoint, where you can snap a lot of coordinates on the route network using OpenRouteService. This is a really cool feature. Very soon, we will have the possibility to export graphs on a global scale, just with one click, and let you import that into QGIS, or you can use it with Python and do network analysis on top of that. So you can actually visualize the routes and also understand how routing works and why results are how they are. But we added also elevation, POIs, geocoding on top to make the whole package a bit more complete. What you're seeing here is our public API. That is the thing we are offering for free to the world. It has the OSM Planet file behind it. And to accommodate this offer, we have a demo dashboard where you can basically try out everything. We have a public API, as I said. We have many SDKs. We have a user forum where you can ask and communicate with people and users. We have a developer playground and huge and vast amounts of documentation. As well, we have an ORS tools plugin for QGIS. We have a JavaScript, Python, and R package. Okay. Maybe some insights into the numbers of our public API. As I said, we have a global API, so people from all over the world use us. We started in 2017 with offering a public API, and it grew from 1,000 in the beginning to 125,000 today. But this is not the main focus that we have. The main focus are our collaborative users. Collaborative users are basically the OSM community, humanitarian organizations, and other nonprofits. We offer special quotas and more access to all these functionalities for this user group. So if you think in the future you could use such services and mobility analysis, feel free to register and sign up for the collaborative plan. It's completely free, and you will get more quota. All right, so why do we do what we do actually? Because we really believe that open source is something that's helping the society. That's why we do everything as open source software and open source data. We believe that The goals should always be connected to social, ethical, and environmental thoughts. And we are definitely independent and want to stay independent from profit and corporate-driven interests. Because as soon as an open source project is connected to it, it does something to a project that you cannot ignore. Nevertheless, what we are really trying to do is every day, we want to bring the modern society as a basic need, mobility-driven decision-making capabilities. And we do that by providing self-hosted open source software that you can just set up on your computers, on your servers, but we also provide a software as a service and an API, so you don't have to worry about setting everything up. And most importantly, we are a research company. So what we try is that we bring cutting-edge research and cutting-edge research knowledge into production by bypassing actual companies that usually try to leech on new research ideas. And I guess it's working quite well. Just to give you an impression how to access all this, the main go-to is definitely openrouteservice.org. But also try maps.openrouteservice.org. It's a demo application that has not everything in, which is available in the public API, but it shows most of the features in a way that you can understand it and follow it nicely. These are our plans just to show you. There's absolutely zero cost in it, and that's on purpose, because we believe that the free access is very important. If you need more than the collaborative plan offers you at some point, just let us know, write us an email, write me an email, and we can always give you more quota on top. So for the public API access, you basically go to openrouteservice.org/dev/login and click an upgrade button. I don't know how well you can see it. Oh, quite well. And you just put in what is your usage category and what organization are you from. Basically just type in OSM if you're working for OSM, and you can use everything the way it is. We have a QGIS plugin, which you can just download in QGIS. It offers a lot of features. It's well maintained, it's pretty cool, and every time I work with it, I do enjoy it myself as well. And it has all the core features like routing, isochrone metrics. You can define our public API, but also multiple local APIs or remote APIs. It depends on you. You can basically ask any open route service API that's accessible. And it has a processing toolbox. So if you combine workflows into across multiple processing toolbox modules, you can bind in open route service analysis features as well. Upcoming features in the QGIS plugin and also the public API will be fast isochrones, which basically means isochrones that are bigger than 1 hour, 1 to 5, 4 hours. This is very unique, and we think that this is necessary to provide. We will also provide flexible matrix where you can do matrix analysis with some avoidant parameters. This is also pretty unique, and I'm really looking forward for that. So you can, for example, ignore highways. You can, for example, ignore ferries in matrix calculations and still be very fast in it. You will have batch coordinate snapping and the graph export directly in QGIS soon. So we have the maps client, as I said it's the maps.openrouteservice.org. And the cool thing I want to show you is that you can basically point our live API, our live maps client towards your personal open route service backend. Yeah, if you have set it up in Docker on your local computer, for example, you just go on our maps.openrouteservice.org, click on settings, and point it towards your local host, double point your port. And this will give you all the features directly using your local instance. This is pretty cool to test some things out and to see if everything works and so on. The same goes for the API playground. You can go in the API playground and construct your requests. And when you construct a request, you can point these requests directly towards your local development server. And you can export these requests, how you can see it. Okay, what you should see here is basically you construct your requests, you click call action, and then you get the result directly visualized, and you get example language queries, which basically just combine all the properties and the options you set together with the API key, and you can export it in curl, and Perl, and Go, and Python, you name it. This is a very straightforward tool for developers to start using all the services in a fast and efficient way. We have the backend documentation for the ones that want to look a little bit closer into it and to understand how to set it up and use it in detail. All right, so I said in the beginning already that I want to talk about the professionalization urge we see in the past years. We have a lot of bigger partners and partnerships with organizations that are increasingly professional. They are moving to data centers. They are trying to stay secure. They don't want to be hacked. And this is, of course, very understandable, but this faces us with something we are not so much used to as an open source project. The result in, for example, infrastructure is that we have to provide various ways of setups, not just one in a Docker container, no. It needs to go with jar files, with a Tomcat, and even with corporate-grade JBoss web server. And we had to introduce a lot of code quality and CVE scanning, so vulnerability scanning, which is constantly checking the code and gating any pull request that we want to do. So every pull request that we do has to go through certain checks and pass, definitely. Yeah, the tools in there are just for you to know. Those are the ones that it became clear after time that those three are very well suited for us and give us the most insights that we need to provide secure services and secure software. We definitely also need regular dependency updates, monthly releases, and monthly CVE patchings. So we are constantly in the newest version vulnerability free. It looks a lot, and it was some effort to set everything up, but now that it's in place, it's pretty low maintenance. And maybe this can be an idea, or this can give ideas for some people that are actually maintaining open source software on how to follow the security trend in the market. So if you apply the best practices, maybe from this slide in infrastructure, you're on a good way. But of course, this also goes into the code. We had to make our commits and our code styling better. So we introduced conventional commit types, which makes it a lot more readable. We have 39 GitHub workflows that run before you can even merge a pull request, and all of them have to go through. And all of them test some very important and significant things. For example, 70 integration tests, where we test the work between Tomcat, Jar, JVS, and containers, and the code that we do, because sometimes you cannot overlook everything. It's just too complex. And it really pays, because the feedback comes immediately, and we don't get the problem somewhere down the road in a couple of months when we suddenly encounter, oh, the environment variables don't fit anymore. We see that very early in the development already. We have 618 API tests, and we have 1,800 unit tests in it. I know it's just a number, but just to give you an impression of, I think it would just come back in a minute. Yeah, of how much effort we put in that. But to become also cloud native and to become more professional in the cloud perspective, we had to become a config file less configuration software. So everything that you want to configure, you configure by now in environment variables and properties. You don't have to touch a config file anymore. We have memory mapping, which allows you to run Planet, Openrouteservice with Planet OSM on a 4 GB RAM machine, which is pretty good, and the performance loss is not so much. We have, of course, some more corporate grade and data center oriented features like an RPM package for Red Hat and SE Linux hardening. And as long as you don't have to do that, I would really, just from my experience, tell you, don't go down that road. Maybe stay with the other parts, and if someone is really asking you, make sure you really want to do system OS hardening with SE Linux. All right. I just want to talk quickly about something that's important to me, because oftentimes we get questions, why do roads go a certain way, and why do isochrones don't look properly how I'm expecting them? What we do then is we go to dashboard.awesome.org. That is actually a service from my colleagues from the same Heidelberg Institute for Geoinformation Technology, and it's a good tool to understand how well or how we should understand OSM data in the area that we are looking at. For example, in Kenya, we have the mapping saturation, which tells you how much have already been mapped, and this is an intrinsic indicator. Yeah, this is not an absolute, but an intrinsic. It lies in itself, and you always have to take it with a grain of salt, but it's a very good orientation to see how complete it is. For example, Germany peaked for 100% roughly in 2012 or 13, and Kenya is still, I think, now by 88%, 88% exactly. And increasing, so it's in a really good way. But there's more. There's not just the saturation, but also the currentness, which tells you how well OSM data is updated in a certain area. And as I said, this is a handy tool, and we go there often to understand how the area we are looking at is behaving in OSM statistics. All right, but we do more because we're a research company. In the very near future, we will provide a very big and hopefully planet scale data set of paved and unpaved surface type detections. We do that from 95,000 mapillary images, first for Africa and then for the rest of the world. And we use deep learning detection to detect if a road is paved or unpaved. This is, from our experience, very important for especially humanitarian organizations to understand how the road structure is where they are going to road. And they will definitely contain the OSM IDs, so it will be easy to connect the dots together, and it will also be available in the ORS public API directly in routing at some point in the near future. I'm very excited about this. This is a cool project. If you have further questions towards this and you want to talk a little bit more in detail, feel free to approach me also afterwards. Another cool example of the research we do is the heat stress routing. We did as a first research project in Heidelberg. It's limited currently to that. It takes sensor data that measures heat stress and includes that into the routing. So the routing adapts where the heat where the heat stress is biggest and lowest, and you can see very nicely visualized where on your road you can expect what type of heat intention, heat stress. All right, check that out. It's really cool. heal.openrouteservice.org. Interesting to see how heat stress affects the routing and the visualization. We did one of our last experiments was to combine OpenRouteService with public transit, because this is really something we see as an important thing, and we have the feeling that for us it's not solved in an absolute good way at the moment, but we try to combine us with Motus, so Motus and ORS working together, and this was a really nice experiment and it worked quite well. We are still evaluating what that means to us, so in the coming weeks and months we are most certainly providing something in that way, and try to include as many GTFS and public transit feeds as possible. So when that is available, it would also be available in our public API. So with the quota and the collaborative user access, you can then also do analysis on top of these public transit data. All right, now something that's very important to me personally, because I love this feature that's coming down the road. We are planning to do a routing graph download service, which allows you, or we imagine it a little bit like GeoFabric, which allows you to download graphs of certain extents without the need to build it. Because we see that building graphs in any routing engine is actually quite extensive. You need a lot of resources, hardware, RAM, and it can get expensive or just take forever. And we want to provide that to the community and to the society to configure it in ORS, and a minute later, depending on your download speed of your internet, you have a ready graph and you can start doing analysis on top of it. Yeah, this also means you could get directly enriched graphs with noise, green information, high resolution elevation, borders, road types directly on your computer or on your instances. I'm very excited about it. So if you are interested in this feature and want to become a first adopter or a beta tester in a couple of months, feel free to contact me, to approach me, or just write me an email in a couple of days when you feel ready for it, and we will put you in a list and include you into the beta tester phase. All right, I have a resource page here where you can see all the relevant resources. Yeah, you can see quite well. It's in the slides, so whenever you feel like looking up something, it's in here, in one of those boxes, and my email and personal contact is on the lower left. Yeah, that's me on good days. And the QR code leads you to my LinkedIn. account, but feel free to check me out on GitHub, or just go to igi.org or openrouteservice.org, write me an email whenever you feel for it. Okay, that was it. Thank you so much for your attention, and I think we are pretty much perfectly 20 minutes in, right? Nice.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So please, question and answer, Q&A. You have any question, can you? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julian. That was a great presentation. It's quite interesting that it's the first time I'm hearing about Openrouteservice. It's on?
It's on, yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So I've been here thinking as I was watching you make a great presentation, and I imagine Openrouteservice is very good for research purposes.
It is.
For someone who wants to do routing data. I was also asking myself, have you considered, or does Openrouteservice also, the API, does it support a service like companies like Uber who do delivery, and also other companies like Glovo that are doing food delivery for people? If yes, you can give us an example. If no, is this a route that you are intending to take? And also, probably you could explain to us some other use cases for Openrouteservices for other companies. How have they been able to use this? And maybe it could give a clear picture of how some people here, or some of us can implement it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. A couple of years ago, we saw an increasing demand for humanitarian organizations to have the same professional tools for optimization, for logistics optimization, last mile delivery, pick-up delivery, and drop-off, as the for-profit companies have. And that was a moment where we decided to go that path. So we have a very extensive vehicle routing problem solver, which solves you a lot of things like time windows, shifts, you have multiple depots, you have multiple vehicles, and you're going to want to combine all these factors together. You have hundreds of drop-offs and pickups, and you have vehicles, for example, with cold chain or hot chain. It really depends what you need, but it's all there. It's all in the API. We are trying to bring that more visibly into the Maps frontend demo, so people can understand that it's there already. But feel free to go on the public API and the developer documentation and dashboard, and you will see that it's there. You can also set it up for yourself. It's a combination between a tool called Vroom and Openrouteservice. Vroom uses Openrouteservice metrics API to do these optimizations in a very good and efficient way, and together they're really, really fast. So yes, it's there and available with pretty decent quota if there's not enough really. And if you're a company and professional, I would recommend you set it up maybe yourself and try it out so you don't run into quota limits or anything. Yeah. Was there more to that question? Oh, examples, yeah.
Yes.
So we have some organizations that use us, for example, for fire brigades use these optimization example things. We have disaster situations where a lot of the logistics is planned and analyzed with that. Yeah. It's not about the actual routing with the car, but it's more about the, for example, in the field and analyzing the situation with the current data that you have. We also have the possibility, not in the optimization yet, but generally you can put in, for example, avoid areas where the route adapts or the isochrones adapts around areas, for example, destroyed infrastructure, where when a route is not passable, you can exclude it from the calculation, and the routing instance will directly find another way for you. So there are different kinds of optimization. Yeah? The pickup and delivery thing is one kind of an optimization, and then you have optimization for routes with avoidance, for example, or you can avoid highways, you can avoid ferries and these kinds of things. Another example would be, we had some activations back then, for example, in Turkey, in the earthquake situation, we had a data layer that was collecting all the destroyed infrastructure, and the Maps client was automatically ingesting that in every request. So a very cool and dynamic situation for the routing part. Is that okay with the examples for you? Yeah.
So for this, some of these services that you've just mentioned, I know the API is open source.
Yes.
So I'm sure they are using a bit much more. Are they paying a license to use this, or it's completely free?
Who you referring to? Who pays the license?
The examples that you just gave.
No one pays anything to us.
Okay.
So, and we are not for-profit driven, so we will never charge something to make profit out of anything. It's in Germany, it's a very interesting situation. If you are a non-profit company, it's in the core of your company that you're not allowed to do anything for profit.
My name is Michael Makoha from FAO,
Hello,
Somalia. And for me, I wanted just to
I hear you. It's good.
really thank you for the presentation and to share how to use it actually. Your API for village selection for programming. So if we need villages that are 20 kilometers away from major cities, because we are targeting rural communities, we use that service to get the routes to the road routes, not the displacement, to those rural villages. Then we can be able to determine which one fall within a category of that we have set. So it has been very useful for us. Thank you.
Okay, you're using us for that already. That is great to hear, actually. And maybe I come later and to ask a little bit more detail, if that is okay for you. Cool, I love to hear stories about it. Nice.
Thank you very much. If there are no more questions, then yeah, we'll move on to the next speaker. So let's give a round of applause for you. Thank you, Julian.